Okay guys, time for another tutorial. This time it's gonna be uh, the color mixer application in page 162. The first tutorial in chapter 3. In this fun application, what we'll do is we'll have a form where we enter some number for shades of primary colors, red, green and blue, and using that number combination we'll see the color in an oval right inside the form, so you can get a huge variation in color shades with whatever number you put. So let's go ahead and get started on this project. uh, like the tutorial before, you don't have to create it from scratch. Most of the work will be already done for you. So if you go to this color mixer solution and open up this solution here, you'll have something like this where most of it's already formatted. The form, the buttons, all the text, um, text boxes, labels, everything. So your job is to first add an oval shape in Visual Basic Power Pack's oval shape. Add one here, and you can size it however you want to. Just make sure it's big enough so that you can see the colors inside. Now the tutorial asks you to change the name to COLOR over shape, and its background should be opaque, not transparent. So go to the back style property and change it to opaque. Alright, now we need to it says to lock control so that we can change anything anymore, and let's work on the code. So starting from now on, we'll write a lot of comments inside the code so that we can understand what's going on. So the project name is color mixer project and remember, to put comments you have to first put a single quote and then type whatever you want to. Project description or purpose, whatever you want to say. Show the color associated with the values entered by the user. Created by, okay, I forgot to put the quote. Then put your name and your date and the date you're doing. Okay, that was quick. Now about the book says to put your options. What are the options? Well, to know more in detail, you should go and look at the class lecture videos. But there's 3 options. So the first one is option explicit on. That means that you have to declare every variable in your program or your code. You can't just like make up a new variable and start working with it. So if you have a variable, suppose red input, and you have to declare what type of variable it is. Like, is it um, like a class variable or a module variable? So that's what it is. So you can't just start start working with undeclared variables in this option explicit on. If you turn it off, you can, but then if you do a typo in your variable name, then the Visual Basic will automatically think that's a um, new variable, and then you might encounter errors in your program. The next option is option infer off. Here, if you tell it not to infer or have the option infer off, then you also have to declare the type of each variable, like data type. Is it an integer or a double or a decimal or what? And that also helps figuring out errors in your codes. And finally, option strict on, so that you cannot demote your variables, like transform your, suppose, a double which has higher range and precision with an integer. Again, for more details about each of these options, look at the class lectures. It's all in there. Okay, so now let's quickly program the exit button code, which is very simple. So exit button, click, and me dot close. That was fast. And now we have to do the code for the view color button, this button. So if you put some colors, combinations of 0 to 255 in each of these boxes and say view color, there'll be a certain shade of color here. It can go from black, which is given, which has the red green value of 000, to white, which is a red green value of 255, 255, 255. And in figure 3.40 in your book, some combinations of color are red green values. Some of the examples given, like what is yellow, what is light yellow, light gray, but there are so many possible combinations, and you'll find that out once you have your program up and running and you test it. Okay, so the code for the view button, when you click your view button, so the first step would be, I guess here you put a comment on what it actually does, is change the oval's color. Now you have to declare whatever variables you want to use. So you'll use 3 variables: integer, which take the values of the input you put in your text box here, and it takes it and assigns it to 3 different integers. So the first one is input red, which takes in the value of the red text box. Then input green, then input blue. See, I defined them as integers because you can't have decimal numbers in color integer values. It only has to be whole numbers. So that's why they are integers, and each of these are the inputs for each of these text boxes: red, green, and blue. Now we have to assign the values entered in the text box to these integer variables. So how to do that? So let's first comment assign input to variables. So here the book is using the try parse method. So integer dot try parse red text box dot text input red. So what this does is basically takes the text box and red text box. So this is your red text box, and convert it to an integer value first. From this would be like a char value or a string. So that string will be converted first to an integer, and then it would be the integer value would be put into this variable right here. So similarly for the green and blue, integer dot try parse, so that's the green text box input green, integer dot try parse finally the blue text box input blue. So now we have the code to, oh, I'm sorry, so here it should be dot text for all three of these, because we are worried about the text inside the text box, not the text box as a whole. So now the text in each text box would be automatically assigned to these variables before it's converted to an integer. I mean, so what's going to happen in each case is that when you assign numbers and click this thing, so whatever's in these text boxes, they will go into the input red, input green, and input blue. Before that, I mean, they have to be converted from the, the, the string here to an integer. So, and the final part is using those values and assign or make the color change in the oval. So the code for that is color oval shape dot back color. So the background color of the oval shape, the background color of this should change to whatever color combination from we have put. So this is the code. So color dot from, let's see, from ARGB, and then input red, input green, input blue. So this line of code basically changes the background color of the oval shape to a certain combination which has this input for red, this input for green, and this input for blue. So this is what you need to assign it. Color dot from ARGB, and you have to put the sequence properly. First the red, then the green, and then the blue. If you like change the order, then the actual combination is not what you want it to be. And that is all there is to the code basically. And what I would do is go and look at the tab order, make sure the tab order is nice. So you see starts here, then goes here, so it's great. And I would also change the accept button to view button, so that when I hit enter, the view button is basically clicked. And yeah, and if you want, you can also do the cancel button to this. So if you hit exit, it will automatically exit, or if you hit escape, then it will automatically create or click the escape exit button. So let's see, let's test it. So I put 56 here, 100 here, and 200 here. So this has to be within 255 each of these. Let's see, we get a color which is kind of blue. So let's change it to 50 and 210. It's another shade, it's more like purple now. Make it 52. It's kind of grayish. So, and so if I do say 46 and hit enter, then it changes. Make it 8, 7, enter. So what I'm testing now is that I'm testing the enter thing. If I hit escape, it goes away. So the cancel button and the accept button are working. Now one last thing, till now I've been entering valid data, like each of these should be from 0 to 255, 0 to 255, 0 to 255. What if I enter an invalid data, like suppose 564, which is greater than what it expects it to be, and here maybe 7. Let's make this valid, but let's make this invalid and try to view the color. Now it will give me an error because this code cannot handle anything beyond the range 0 from 255 for any of these. So since I put an input 564, it gave me an error and it stopped. So how to test and actually account for invalid data, we'll not cover that right now. That will be covered in the next chapter. So if you want to continue testing your application, what you have to do at this point is that go to debug and say stop debugging. So it'll ignore that error and go back to the program, or go back to the Visual Basic, and again you can start it. And 456 won't work, so 150, 56, 7, 8. Again, if I put minus 56, it won't work anymore. Again, this thing. So stop debugging. And that's basically it, guys, for this tutorial. Hope you enjoy doing this program for yourself. It's a pretty cool program.